Hey everyone, this is Shauna with Love Meets Cake back with another video. Today I am in my catering kitchen working on a cake for a customer. It's going to be a gold drip cake with fresh roses and berries. Let's get to it. So what I always do is start by putting a dollop of icing on my cake board. She requested for a strawberry cake and I'm doing my regular American buttercream that I typically use. I'm doing a 3-layer 7-inch cake. What I'm doing now is called a crumb coat, and that's where you do a thin layer of icing so that way you can trap all the crumbs in this first layer before we do the final layer of icing. And then what I'm going to do is pop this into the refrigerator for a few minutes for it to firm up. By the way, those 2 cakes sitting there, shout out to Kennedy Cakes, the other baker I share the kitchen with. Those were her cakes. Alright, so next I'm going to clean my berries, and what I'll do is put them in a bowl with water and some vinegar. So if there's any little creatures or buggies, the vinegar solution actually pulls them out. Ugh, that's an ugly berry. I don't deal with ugly berries. So I threw that in the trash. Okay, so next I have soaked the berries and now I'm drying them off. And I've done enough videos now where I'm melting chocolate. So as you can see, I just have my white chocolate there with a little bit of shortening when I always thin my chocolate out, and I melted it. And now I'm ready to dip my berries. So I put toothpicks into the berry, and it's a lot easier to use the longer toothpicks so you get a better grasp on them. Now that the berries are dry, what I'm going to do is drizzle some chocolate lines across. So I put some more chocolate into a baggie, snip the end a little bit, and drizzle my lines. Now the cake is out the refrigerator. The crumb coat is nice and firm, so I'm doing my final coating. There's a few different techniques to getting your buttercream smooth, and my favorite method is called the hot water method. So what I will do is, as you can see, the sink is running hot water right now. So what I do is ice my cake, and then I take my spatula, run it under the water, and then I use that to smooth out the cake. And essentially what you're doing is steaming the cake or ironing the cake, however you want to think of it. So there, I ran my bench scraper under the hot water, and what that is doing is getting my bench scraper hot. So then when I lightly go around the cake with the hot bench scraper, it smooths out your icing. See those 2 little spots right there? What I'm doing is repatching that up with more icing, and I'm going back over it with the bench scraper. For the top, I take my spatula and I start off at the edge of the cake and push in. And that is what creates that sharp edge around the top of the cake so that your top of the cake isn't rounded. Start from the end and push in. And then I like to take my bench scraper and go up against the base of the cake to clean up any icing or any water that is at the base of the cake. Now I am taking my gold highlighter dust. I'm putting it in a small bowl that had a little bit of vodka in it, and I mixed powdered sugar in it. And what I am creating right now is a gold drip. Now I am pouring the gold solution into a baggie, cutting off the end, and then what I'm going to do is drip that off the top corner of the cake all around the perimeter. Come on, squeeze. Now right here, my icing bag kept getting clogged because I had little chunks of powdered sugar in there. Sometimes you may need to sift your powdered sugar so that it doesn't create the clumps, so you don't have any issues when you're trying to squirt out the gold solution. And then next, what I'm going to do is take the remaining gold and then just pour that on top of the cake, and then take my spoon and go around in a circle so it has that swirl effect on the top. Now here I have a happy birthday sign, and the gold does not necessarily match the gold drip that's on the cake, and I want it to match a little better. So what I'm doing is painting it using that gold drip solution that I have so that the golds are relatively the same tone. Now that the berries are dry, I'm going to paint the lines gold on the berries, which is pretty difficult because the lines are thin, so you would really need like a very thin brush, which my brush was not the thinnest, so it's really hard trying to make sure you stay on those lines. After a while, I said, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to try to stay on those lines. So I ended up painting the whole berry gold and then dusting on some gold cake glitter. Next, I have some fresh pink and red roses, and I'm snipping those and inserting a toothpick into the stem where I cut it, and then wrapping tape around the base where I inserted it so the part where I cut it does not touch the cake. And that's just the other baker I share the kitchen with. Shout out to Kennedy Cakes again. She was just coming over asking me a question. And it's actually really cool to share a kitchen with another baker because we can both bounce ideas off of each other and get tips. The way I'm placing these roses on, the ones in the front is going to be lower on the cake. The ones in the back behind the birthday sign are going to be higher. So as you can see, those are sticking up a little higher in the back. That way you can see them. Now I'm just putting on my berries, and I'm using a toothpick so that way the berry stays on the cake. There's also going to be a couple berries that I put on the cake board, and I'm actually putting a little bit of icing on the bottom of those so that they stick. I have 2 gold candles here, and what I'm going to do, which I just realized that part was cut off in the video, I actually take a little ball of fondant and a little bit of my white chocolate, and I stick the gold candle into the fondant using white chocolate to make sure that it stays in there, and then I use the white chocolate to stick it onto the board. You'll see once I pull the cake back what I mean. And then what I'm doing is taking some gold sugar pearls, and I'm just placing those around the cake. No real method here, just a few here and there around the top of the drip. And we're done. I love gold drip cakes because they're so quick and easy to put together, and they're just so beautiful. You can play around with so many different colors like this. Thanks for watching.